Soldier boy, I'm in it. Why me crack it? Why me roll? Why me crack that soldier boy? That Superman. Now why me crack that soldier? 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 Now what? Soldier boy, I'm in it.
Okay, so with that, hi and welcome to After the Hype. With me as always, Brian, John,
Yo,
Ryan,
Yep.
And we have Graham here today.
Hello.
Today we're going to be talking about Batman and Superman in the versus variety, but not the one that you're thinking of, just the one that we've been talking about for a whole bunch if you've been paying attention to our podcast, which is Batman 1989 versus Superman of 1978. But before we do that, we're going to do a quick Where Have You Been Doing? I will go first. I've been watching Daredevil, of course, because that's what everyone has been doing. And I finished it last night, and I won't say anything about it spoilery other than the fact that I liked it better than Season 1, better than Jessica Jones, and really better than anything Marvel has done live-action TV-wise to date. And that's it.
I will go next because I've been doing the exact same thing. In between work, that is all I've been cramming to do. So I will only add to that I actually prefer this to anything they've done on film as well.
Damn.
Whoa. So I started Hearthstone.
Why?
Welcome to the crack.
Yeah, do you not like free time?
That's actually the other thing I've been doing all week.
Well, I got into it like in the Witcher 3. They have a card game that they built for you to play in there, which was like, okay, fine, I'll try it. This is somewhat fun. I wonder if there's like something like this in the real world that's closer, like a little bit more balanced, let's say. Mm-hmm. And then everyone started recommending Hearthstone to me. I actually wrote into a Facebook group, like, what's the deal with Hearthstone? And like 30 responses later in the span of an hour, I was like, I'll try it.
Everybody plays.
Everybody plays, yeah, and it's actually pretty fun. I wouldn't say it's addicting, just because there's a lot of other things that I want to do more than it right now.
Yeah. The nice thing about it is there aren't like you don't have to keep up with the goals. The goals are to like reach the top of the ladder, and you get like one special little card back, which is the aesthetic only way that they get you to spend money in the game. The other thing is Arena, and that's just kind of continuing on itself forever. You just kind of draft and you earn your gold back ideally. So there's not like in World of Warcraft you have to like keep up with the cutting edge of raiding and like collect gear and stuff. That Hearthstone you can put down and pick up anytime. Yeah,
no, and it seems, and I didn't realize it was on phone too. So like theoretically I could just pick it up, play a little bit, and stop, which is actually really nice and something to kind of fill in the small moments where I don't have a lot of time to jump into a full-fledged game like The Witcher, where it's like, okay, I'm going to be in this for like 3 or 4 hours to do like half of a mission. Yeah. Whereas this is just kind of something I can do quick. I like it.
I've been watching BBC detective shows, basically, back to back, one after the next on Netflix. So I think we started with Luther, and then finished that, and then moved on to River, and then finished that and went to The Fall. And yeah, they're all great. So
yeah, I've seen bits and pieces of Luther, and it looks fantastic.
Yeah, Luther's pretty awesome.
Haven't had the time to commit to it yet.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Are we ready to jump into this monstrosity of an episode? That sounds way meaner than I want it to be.
What do you have in mind for this episode?
You have a lot to say about Batman and Superman.
I have so much to say that I could have done 2 completely separate episodes on both of these movies, and as I'm watching them, I'm kind of going, oh, I don't get to do that. But that'll be okay. I'm completely foregoing the numbers and all that sort of stuff because these 2 movies were wildly successful, and the main reason why we still have comic book movies today. So fair. All that stuff is kind of pointless. We're just going to move past it.
And they were 9 years apart. Like, numbers would be a little skewed.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're going to get started right quick with the breakdowns. I think will probably be the best place to start with this thing. And since we only have one guest here today, that means that one of us is going to have to do it, and that person's going to be Ryan.
Hey.
So, Graham, which one would you rather do, Superman or Batman?
Superman, I guess.
Okay, so you're doing Batman.
Good, because I would rather do Batman.
Yeah, so we're going to do the exact same way that we did last time. So we have, you said, which one do you want to do?
I wanted to do Superman.
I'll let you do Superman. I'm not going to be that much of a dick to you. Okay, so Superman and Batman, and much like we did Jurassic Park versus Jurassic World, you're going to have to go at the exact same time.
Perfect.
And you already get 30 seconds. Now, here's the bonus, I'll say, as John's setting up, if you can hear him in the background. If you can't do these in 30 seconds, you do not deserve to be fans of comic books, because these are so easy to do in 30 seconds. John's ready. Are you guys ready?
Yeah, sure.
You ready to do this?
I guess so.
Okay, so 30 seconds. Batman vs. Superman, 1978, 1979. or 1989 if I can get the years right. All right, John, you ready? Yep. All right, go.
All
All
right.
right. So
Batman
with,
is
Superman
an awesome
is
movie about a character
an alien
named
orphan
Batman,
who's sent from
who
his
is
dying
really
planet Krypton,
billionaire
to
Bruce
Earth,
Wayne
where he
in
grows
a
up to become
mask, and
his
it's pretty
adoptive.
silly. But so in
home's
Gotham
first
City,
and greatest
is
superhero.
riddled with crime,
And then after
we
this
have
is
Grissom
basically
in charge of the crime,
a
and we have
homecoming
Jack
story.
Napier, who is played by Jack
And he's,
Nicholson. And he kills him, and he gets
he
knocked into a
meets
vat of
Lex
acid, and
Luthor,
turns into
and
the
basically
Joker.
fights Lex
He
Luthor
kidnaps
pretty
Batman's
lamely,
girlfriend, and Batman has to
whose idea
well
is to,
tries not to kill him, but
That's
doesn't
it.
blow
You're out
up
of time.
California.
While trying to use one ear to listen to each of you, I think you did pretty good. I don't think either one of you got to the exact ending. I heard California, so I know somebody got to the end of theirs.
All right.
Close.
So great job.
Thanks.
He nailed it.
Okay, so I really do love. That's gonna be my favorite thing about Versus episodes from here on out.
Oh yeah.
It is a true versus.
And at least nobody tried to insert sex scenes into theirs like they did for Jurassic Park
Right.
and Jurassic World, where independently they both had hardcore orgies, apparently. Okay, so we're going to get started with today. And I honestly think the best place to start with this thing is where, if these came out today, much like this one's about to in a couple of days, where people would freak out the most, which is faithfulness to the actual source material.
People would freak out the most. That's a bold statement because only comic book nerds are going to freak out.
Yeah, but they're also the loudest. So
They are.
And honestly, between the two of them, I think Superman gets if we're counting points or whatever, I think Superman does a better job following the comic book versus Batman, because Batman has one glaring issue.
Few.
Yeah, there's
Actually,
one in particular that makes me go, I can't love this movie
All
as
right.
much as I want to. I
So
can't.
we're going to start on the comic book nerd
Yeah.
freaking out.
Let's start right now. Then.
Well, actually,
Well, it's Jack Napier. Who the fuck is Jack Napier?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. We're diving straight in, Brian. All right. Let's say, but what about the argument that the Joker in modern media willingly has a cloudy backstory?
Yeah, I kind of like that. What's
That's
wrong
what I
with
mean.
that?
So he tells the story and he says, well, maybe that's the real one or maybe it's not. I have a million stories. I'll just go whatever is the best one at the time.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but that's not what this is. This guy is clearly a gangster named Jack Napier,
Sure.
who Batman creates. Now, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
I do enjoy that part of the film. I like that Batman
Yeah.
created his biggest villain, and his biggest villain created him.
Right.
That's a
That's
cool
classic
duality.
comic book
Yep.
Batman. Yeah.
Totally awesome.
It thankfully
think
it thankfully plays out well, but you could tell that was a happy accident almost.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I think it was very masterfully created, and
Yeah.
I think it works really well.
Yeah,
and I
it was
think it's awesome they pull it off. And Jack Nicholson does a pretty good of that specific Joker.
Yes.
Did you have more?
No, that was basically it.
Yeah, one thing I really liked about it is that it was the Joker has been kind of all over the place. And, he was, I don't know if Cesar Romero was really an accurate representation either. And I think the one brilliant thing they do with the Joker is they pull him in kind of different directions. And it's always one extreme caricature of the Joker. So Jack Nicholson is this super wealthy criminal who's got class, who somehow has he can pull together resources to throw a parade and poison the city. And then Heath Ledger's Joker was the down and out street rat who just had knives and lint in his pocket and had no identity in 100% different way. His creation came out of some sort of childhood trauma, probably. Maybe.
No idea.
Whereas
Yeah.
Jack Nicholson's was actually created by Batman. And they're just two different dual personalities, and I love them both.
Oh yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I like the character. It's really just even as a kid, I'm I've never heard of Jack Napier before, and that's really always kind of been my biggest issue with this film when I'm going from a comic book standpoint.
Interesting.
And granted, later editions of Batman have enjoyed this movie so much they've actually used the Jack Napier story, and that's kind of cool, and I like it. But at the same time, for me, my first entry into this thing, you can just kind of feel like Warner Brothers going, we need to kind of at least attempt to explain where this is coming from, or audience members might go, well, who the fuck is that guy?
Well, and one thing
Yeah, where
you
does he come
gain when you did the Nolan Batmans with kind of setting it in the city as a result of the city being corrupt and decaying, you make the city a character. Where in this Batman, it's kind of just cool matte paintings and really cool design, but not really a character. It feels more like a set.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's you kind of lose that element of that tie to Gotham,
Maybe-
without the kind of the whole politics and the whole kind of the economy going on.
Maybe it's because this movie, like I'm pretty sure I got it at like 4 or 5 years old. As soon as it hit VHS, it was in my hands and in the VCR, and I would rewind it when it was over. This is like I played this tape out. So this was the Batman to me. Like I didn't read comics before I saw this movie, so Jack Napier was fine. I didn't go, who's that guy? And to me, like, I love the beauty of Gotham City in these movies. I love the matte painting, and it feels like that old sci-fi movie Dark City to me. And it's just like super stylized. And they brought that back for the TV show Gotham, which is one of my favorite things about that show. And to me, Chris Nolan's movies always just felt like Gotham was the city it was shot in. Like Dark Knight was just Gotham was Chicago.
Yeah.
Well, and I do like really agree with you on the design. The design's so beautiful, but there's kind of that the class struggle, that having all that just be like he'd be a common criminal, that there's more to it that would kind of incite Batman to fight injustice versus I'm going to wear a suit. Like you lose some of that kind of logic.
No,
but then you trade off, and it's so grandeur, like it's so beautiful. Like the city's so haunting and beautiful
and real,
but it is
more realistic for sure.
Yeah,
like gritty. Nolan definitely did a grittier Batman, and this was very polished. And I actually thought that it was interesting when he throws the parade and tries to poison the city. The people are so desperate for grabbing the money that even after the whole thing goes down and they realize it's poison gas coming out, and some of them die, some people still come up to the float and are reaching for money. Like that's definitely
That's actually, like, again, trying to stay on track with the comic book part of it. That feels very Gotham to me.
Me too.
And going to the other way, my favorite thing about the Superman movie is that Metropolis feels like Metropolis. Like Metropolis is supposed to be like the beacon of cities. Like it's supposed to be like it's kind of like, much like Gotham is supposed to be the shitty parts of New York. Metropolis is supposed to be the nice parts of New York. All New York. But when you look at it, like the Metropolis depiction in this one, it might be a little bit better in Superman 2, but we'll get into the sequels later. That's on the list. But this one really felt like a living, breathing city to me. Whereas you have the complaint with Batman. I slightly disagree, but I get what you're saying, where it all just kind of feels like pretty backdrops, pretty paintings, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and then people just put in on top of it.
Exactly, yeah. And this one, it felt like a movie set.
Yeah.
Not anything against it, because it
felt like a movie set in the
Yeah.
traditional sense.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
Metropolis to me felt like a living, breathing city at all times.
Yeah, true.
That Superman just happened to show up in. And I love that he just shows up and just starts going to work.
Yeah.
And like that's what I think works so great about at least staying like true to the comic book. That feels like Superman to me, where he shows up and he goes, I need to save this city. From what? Well, there's really nothing to save it from right now. There's a cat in that tree. I'll go get it.
Yeah. I mean, Superman in
evil
this
cat
is
tree
amazing.
guy.
I love Christopher Reeve's depiction of him and the direction, and just like always a good guy. I love it.
And that's, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm excited for the new movie coming out. I enjoyed Man of Steel for what it was.
Yeah.
We have an episode on it from wherever ago if you want to listen to it. It's as good as all that is. Nobody can beat Christopher Reeve. And like I feel like that's what people used to say about like Jack Nicholson with the Joker, and maybe
I think in the villains too. Like I think in the '80s, in the late '80s, like people were a little scared of corporations getting too big. So Jack Napier being this rich guy who's like giving away free money, and you have to be suspicious of it. Like that's very indicative of those times. Whereas the Heath Ledger play like chaos, and we're like very afraid of like guerrilla attacks and terrorism and chaos now.
Yeah. Coming from absolutely nowhere. Yeah.
well, that's a good jumping off point. Let's just talk about the villains. I was going to say that for later in the episode, but I feel like if it's come up organically, we might as well talk about it.
I mean, we've talked about the heroes. Let's,
yeah. Instead of just keep harping on Batman, let's talk a little bit about Gene Hackman.
Oh, yeah.
Gene Hackman.
Evil Gene Hackman.
So good.
He's so good, and he gets better and better and better the more the movie goes on.
Yeah.
The second he hits the screen, it's like, I'm not sure if I really like this Lex Luthor. He's kind of annoying.
Yeah. What's that hair?
It's been since I was a little kid that I watched this movie, so watching it again was kind of pleasant. The few surprises, like, oh my god, when he takes the wig off at the end, is hilarious.
So great. The greatest supervillain of our time.
And I'm bald.
Well, and I forgot how just good he gets by the end. Like you were saying, I was just like, oh, this is kind of goofy. I don't know how I feel. Oh, he's really cool.
Yeah,
Hey, this is awesome. He's actually kind of a threat, despite kind of the campy way they're playing him. He's Yeah, he's pretty bad.
And that's what's so great, because he starts out so campy that you're like, wow, Superman's gonna mop the fucking floor with this. This is supposed to be his arch nemesis. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And then as soon as he does that, like, it's that turn in like the beginning of the third act where he does like the high frequency thing. Where the only person on two legs can hear this is you. I'm like, holy shit, he actually knows his stuff.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
We clearly can't get that bait and switch in Batman versus Superman because we all know who Lex Luthor is, and he looks like he's a crazy person from the start.
Yeah. Which is a little too bad, but
Yeah.
I won't judge it till I see it in 2 days.
Absolutely.
But the thing that I really liked about, like, especially with Gene Hackman is I feel like it was intentional. Like, I feel like he did everything, and Richard Donner and everybody like worked their best to make him not a threat, not a threat, not a threat, full threat.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it works like surprisingly well. Like even he sticks with the goofiness the whole time. He still has his screaming Miss Tossmacher.
You want to see a long arm?
Well, he is the dumbest henchman ever.
And yeah,
Yes.
no, and that's actually kind of a funny, charming package in this movie. Is that
It is, yeah.
they are as dumb as he is smart, and they are like he's always butting heads with them,
Oh yeah.
and he would actually probably win if it weren't for them. Probably, actually, for sure.
Well, if he didn't have to blow
yeah.
up, what did he blow up? Hoboken or somewhere in New
Yeah,
Jersey?
close enough.
Yeah. He
Hackney?
had
Yeah.
Hackney.
Hackensack.
Hackensack, right?
I think so. Yeah. Well,
It
if
is,
he hadn't
yeah.
blown up that city, Miss Tussbacher would have never freed Superman.
Yeah.
So he just had to go and blow up the city that her mom was living in, and that did it. Mm-hmm. He would have won.
You know, if you count her as a henchman.
She's kind of a henchman,
Yeah.
a hench lady.
She's a
Hench
Bond,
person?
classic Bond hench lady.
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right. So then on the other side, if we're talking villains, then you have the Jack Napier Joker, who, I mean, out of everything in both of these movies, has two of the best scenes, like in comic book history.
Yeah.
And they're almost the same scene, which is kind of weird, but it's like I'm not sure if it's an art gallery restaurant, whatever the fuck that
Basically,
was.
the Prince music video.
Yeah, that one, and then later in her apartment
Right.
are two of the most awesome scenes fucking ever.
Yeah.
And then later, right after that basically the entire third act is one awesome Joker scene.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It pretty much like once it goes like into Joker Town, it stays there
Yeah.
because it's. I mean, the movie. I mean, I mentioned this, but I should have mentioned this in the Faithfulness comic book. But it does what the Batman comic books always did so well, which is acknowledge that Batman's the most boring character here.
Right. And Nolan did that as well.
He did, yes, yeah, and it did a really good job of going, oh shit, I guess the Joker is better. We're gonna stick with him because he seems really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
He's
also,
super flamboyant.
it kinda
and
sticks with
takes
the-
control of the scenes.
the idea
Yeah.
that Batman always comes out of nowhere. Like, I kind of like the way that we don't see Batman get to his destination unless he's got to drive really fast through red lights in a Batmobile. But
Yeah.
then all of a sudden he just comes out of the shadows as Batman should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm here now. And now you're all going to die. Or at least come close to death.
And maybe we could talk about the tone a little bit of these movies in the comic book Faithfulness too, because I thought they were both executed in exactly the right way. Like Richard Donner and going with like the Spielbergian style, over the top, campy villain, good guys saving the day, left and right. I mean, that's really good.
John Williams scored just
John
to the
Williams,
nines.
yeah,
Dear Lord.
and then-
when it first started up, we were like, oh, yeah, John Williams did this.
exactly. The contrast of that being Tim Burton, dark, Danny Elfman, classic, like over the top, not in a campy way, but in like an overly artsy way. I don't know how to put that.
Well, the difference.
Tim
with
Burton way.
Yeah,
Tim Burton
that's the only way I could say it.
The difference is like Superman really has not changed. I mean, yeah, don't jump down my throat, internet. He has not changed tonality that much through the years. Like since his
No.
introduction,
Right.
he's always been kind of like that Boy Scout of the world.
Because that's Superman. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah,
he's the
that
1950
is
like
what
perfect
Superman is.
kind of guy of like, I'm always here to
Yeah.
save the day.
Yeah,
you
he's
know?
had his moments of going a little crazy town, like that's sort of fine. But like
Well,
for the
yeah.
most part, that's kind of what he is. Batman has gone from the Superman wearing a cape and cowl,
Right.
to what he is now, which is way more dark and gritty and
But
what it is.
yeah.
that
But-
happened before this movie came out, though.
It did, but I would congratulate this movie for really stamping that tone on Batman.
Yeah.
Let's actually move into that because I have a lot to say about the way that these movies both very impressively shaped the future of these characters.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We could talk about Batman first, and I mean, applying Tim Burton's gothic, that's the word I should describe it as,
Yes.
because it's very gothic.
Gotham.
His style to Gotham
Yes.
City and Batman, it was brilliant. What else? I can't think of what else came out of this movie that like kind of was incorporated into canon, but I will move into Superman and say that one of my favorite like little nods in the Superman universe is that the S on his suit may not be an S for Superman.
Yeah.
And that is straight up out of this movie. They made that up for this. And that has carried through now into like Superman's canon.
And that is really cool. That is a really cool moment. Because, yeah, when I saw that emblem on all the other ones, on Krypton, you're like, oh, awesome.
Yep.
I mean, one of the things that I wanted to point out is, like, I love the Batman movie because I love the Batman animated series.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever I see this Batman, I'm like, oh, yeah, it's the movie version of the Batman animated series.
Oh yeah, that is. I mean, you want to talk about like what staying power was this movie? It created that animated series, which really, for a lot of us who are kids who are too lazy, or our parents are like, no comic books,
Yeah.
was how we got into comics. Where
Yep.
like that animated series, Spider-Man, X-Men, all
Yep.
this sort of like that's where we got our start. And without this movie, you didn't have that Batman animated series.
Yeah.
And without the Batman animated series, you don't have Mark Hamill's Joker, and then
Right.
the world is a worse place.
Yes.
Well, and one thing to what you guys were saying, what this did, what the Batman movie did, was it basically is now something you compare all the other Batmans to.
That too.
And
Oh,
it
yeah.
is the first one you compare all the other Batmans to. Everyone else is like, okay, yeah, but like you go to that movie and like, okay, it doesn't have quite the grittiness of Batman. It doesn't have it has more economics than Batman. Like you go back to that one, and
Right.
that's the one by which you judge.
Yeah, because before that we had Adam West.
Right.
And this movie
Well,
shaped
and that was
Batman.
a whole different beast altogether because that was
Absolutely.
very much in the line of like fun and campy and very. It was different. It was
That's
different.
when Batman still
And-
felt like Superman.
And
Yeah.
this Batman
Yes.
actually paid homage to that, I think, in one of the fight sequences when I forget her name, but when she's taking pictures of
Vicky
the whole
Vale.
thing,
Vicky
and, like,
Vale?
Vicky Vale,
Yeah.
and, like the whole flash
Vicky
is coming
Vale.
off every time that he punches somebody in the face.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Ever noticed that? That's
I
great.
never noticed it until I watched it. I was like, oh, that's amazing. You're like, bam, click, bam, click. And I was like, it's
Nice.
amazing, and it does it like 15 times.
They really wanted to make sure that people got it, and still nobody got it.
Right.
I got it this time, and I'm grateful for it.
You're welcome, Tim Burton.
Or thanks, Tim Burton.
All right, let's.
Well, and then even a quick note on the whole Superman thing in the staying power. It is Christopher Reeve's Superman and Superman 1. That is canon. That is the one that everything else is also judged by.
well, I mean,
And almost unfairly, even like
I don't think it's unfair at all.
Yeah.
I mean, given you look at Batman, and we have Batman Begins, we have The Dark Knight, we have.
Well,
So
maybe
many
it's more,
different
maybe it's
Batmans.
more that like Batman's had more time to have different angles, but I see a lot of whenever there's a new Superman, the complaints always bring back in that's not my Superman. That's
Well,
not like
that's
like
not
we get a
Christopher
lot
Reeves.
more of that like
But my point is that we've had really many people take a crack at Batman and do a really good job.
Yeah.
Like very good job, time and time again. Superman, on the other hand, we've had one guy do it really well, and everyone else has done either okay to horrible.
yeah.
Yeah.
And like Bryan Singer did okay, but he basically just remade Richard Donner's Superman. So it's like, okay, well then, way to go, Bryan Singer. We've already seen this, but I guess it has better special effects and Parker Posey.
You made a
Yeah,
made a great
so-
fan you made a great fan film.
Yeah,
Even
and
though I
that-
still like that one, like there are problems.
Yeah, and then say what you will about Man of Steel, it's fine, but no one's gonna go, that is my Superman.
Right.
But you go back to the 1978 Richard Donner one, it's like, and that is still like the best we've gotten. So I
Yeah.
think just if you talk about like staying power or whatever, I mean, the main reason why people will always compare to this Superman is because we don't have a better one to compare to.
Right.
And even Man of Steel is this Superman new. It's
Yeah.
the same. It's the same thing.
It's still the same story. Like, yeah, they
Same
didn't really
story,
try to-
same setup, same everything. It's just we just stay on Krypton just a little bit longer.
Yep.
And get a little bit more backstory there, and then we actually get
skip-
Zod comes back.
Yeah, we skipped the Lex Luthor part of this and just bring in Zod right away.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same. It's the same thing, just the newer version.
So what could they do better? Because if you think about Batman, no one would ever watch a Chris Nolan Batman and go, "This is my Batman." But someone could watch a Chris Nolan movie and go, "This is my Joker," or "This is the best Ra's al Ghul we've gotten."
Yeah.
So is it what are we going to think about Jesse Eisenberg is a really good question, and I actually thought Michael Shannon as Zod was the best part of Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was great.
Yeah.
His Zod was actually like, oh man, this could actually be a problem. This
Yeah.
could actually and does actually.
Well, it is kind of
There's
interesting
actually
too
a
that
threat.
these two iconic characters, are kind of the epitome of the villain is the more interesting part of you.
See, I disagree with Superman. I think Superman is always the most interesting thing in anything Superman because
Yes.
I love.
But I guess
character Superman.
I like him too, but I mean in terms of film, I feel like in film we know what to do with Batman, and in film we don't know what to do with Superman other than just we've done now Zod twice. So now let's get it. Like what about all these other aspects that bring out
I
these more
think that's
interesting
what
parts?
Zack Snyder was attempting to do with Man of Steel. It just didn't really work out, and I don't think it's that it didn't work out because of everything else. I think it's really just he and his editor apparently disagreed on how to tell a story, and then we got what we got. But as far as like what could we do to make this like our Superman or our Batman, I honestly don't know, or I'd be paying a lot more money to go make those movies.
I would be living on Easy Street if I knew.
But I know that they haven't done it yet.
Right.
I know that Michael Keaton is people's Batman. Like they do an entire thing in the movie Neighbors about how that is like Seth Rogen's Batman. Like I'm Batman. Like that's his deal. And like we don't really have that with Superman. Like we have Christopher Reeves.
It is still Christopher Reeves.
It's still Christopher.
So I guess that we're comparing it right because Christopher Reeves and Michael Keaton are still people's Batman and Superman, and the new movies. Well, it's hard to compare it yet because we haven't seen Ben Affleck as Batman yet.
True.
So we're using
We're
the
a
Nolan
couple days
movies.
away.
Yeah. But we have no idea how they're going to do, and I'm really curious to see how it pans out because I really love the idea that the Joker is coming from another movie. So we get to spend more time with him in Suicide Squad, and we get to see some of the backstory of him. Yeah, well, we're all assuming he killed Jason Todd from the trailers.
Yep.
Sorry if you haven't seen the trailer. And it's super dark Joker. So I'm curious to see what they do with the Batman standalone movie if it ever comes out, because I heard it's in limbo right now.
Well, the thing that I've been hearing is that if this does not well, that's getting fast tracked. Because apparently everyone at Warner Brothers, their favorite thing about this movie right now is Ben Affleck as Batman.
Cool.
That's so crazy.
No, I believe it because
Well, they have someone who's matured as a director, very interested in this role, and they're like, we gotta get on this.
Yeah.
Because if you have someone because Ben Affleck is actually he gets better with his movies that he's directing.
He does, yeah.
And he's
Yeah.
still getting better with his movies that he's directing. So why not?
And
why
acting
not?
in.
And a lot of the
And
stuff
acting.
that he's done is not bad. I mean,
Yeah.
the town is really amazing.
I don't know why he gets such a hard time.
I
Maybe
do
because
wanna-
of who he is and where he came from. But I
think
like
it's-
him as a filmmaker.
I still
going
think it's
forward.
because of that lull in his career. Like during his
Oh, yeah.
J-Lo days,
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
still kind of have.
Oh, because he dated J-Lo.
yeah.
that was
Gotcha.
it. Yeah.
No, but I have a lot of faith in him for this movie and this series.
Absolutely. All right, let's change gears a little bit, and I want to talk just a little bit more vanity. I want to talk just about the costumes in general. This won't be a long
Okay.
conversation. I fully understand.
I can't turn around.
That's kind of what I wanted to hear. 'Cause I love that they looked at the comic books.
brace.
They looked at the comic books and went, "Oh, so that's what Batman looks like. Let's do it."
All right.
Yeah.
Pour some plastic on his head.
Pour Michael Keaton into that costume and have him just kind of go, "What?
Yeah.
I can't fight in this."
I can't hear you either.
Justice.
Everything is just shouted at him through thick rubber ears.
Yeah.
That's why he's shouting all the time because he can't think. He
Well,
thinks
that's also
nobody
why
else
he
can hear him.
That's why he growls because that lower bass it makes it through the rubber, right?
Where on the other spectrum, Christopher Reeves, they just went, "All right, we're going to go as classic Superman costume as we possibly can. Do you want to update it at all? Fuck you. This is Superman."
Yeah. And they don't like that was the one thing of his entire backstory. That was the one thing they didn't explain. It was like, oh yeah, and then it's on.
Yep.
And then he just painted this on to
It
himself.
took him
Like,
a year. He was in the Fortress of Solitude for a year talking to Ghost Dad. He might
Yeah.
as well.
have been sewing.
Yeah,
I
Might
don't
as well
know.
start
I don't know.
sewing.
I don't know where in our talk this can come in, but that whole sequence, that whole like trippy sequence in Superman, we need to bring it up somewhere in this because
Bring it up. You
Dear
just
Lord.
brought it up.
It
Just
is-
bring
You
it up
just
now.
brought it up.
I forgot that this was in there, and I'm like, when did this turn into 2001: A Space Odyssey? Like,
Yeah.
And
And
Marlon
that was-
Brando was giving he was just reciting this great dialogue. Like, I don't-
And since he was since he was flown,
It was boring as a kid, but I'm watching this
3
on-
years. He was flown in that thing of Marlon Brando just pouring information
Yeah.
over him, and then he does it another 4 years. Like it must have been 4 because he was in high school.
Thanks,
and then he
Dad.
left, so he must have been 18. And then now he comes back and he's
Well,
he's,
they say
he's over
1
21.
year, but
Superman grows fast.
yeah, and then he stops growing forever.
Thanks, Dad, for all this backstory. Ugh.
But to go back
Pretty
to the
much,
costumes
yeah.
for a second, you hit it earlier when you said that Superman hasn't changed. Like, that's what they drew Superman like the first time they ever
Yep.
drew Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even with that little fucking curly Q on his head.
Yep.
And they
And
nailed that.
Nailed it.
more or less broad-shouldered. And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
pretty much it. You're like,
Yeah.
okay, shoulders this big, shoulders this small.
Whereas
Underwear
Batman,
outside the suit, we got it.
Batman has had so many changes, but I love the way that the Tim Burton movie like made that look of the suit iconic, and he made that little gold, shitty looking oval bat logo iconic, and he made that look of the Batmobile iconic. The Batmobile was just like a nice Bentley when it started.
Yeah. And now it looks awesome.
Yep.
And like even like
Super awesome.
And I enjoyed the Tumblr for what it was.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, I will always love, and specifically the two Tim Burton ones, that Batmobile. When Joel Schumacher gets involved, it
Yeah.
goes a little bit into Looney Tunes land.
Yeah.
But like that one,
It's like it's like the
fucking
evolution
awesome.
of Pokemon. You've got a perfectly fine Pikachu, and then in the Schumacher Batmans, you've got Raichu. And it's
Get
like,
out of here, Raichu.
What? No one invited you.
We'll call it the Gremlins version of the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Just
I mean,
pointier.
it's entirely form over function, I think, really.
Yeah.
'Cause-
Which is
yeah,
what
it's like the Tumblr was
That's it.
very functional.
Yeah.
Holy
Well, what's
crap, was
interesting-
that functional.
Yeah.
What's interesting, based off the costume, what you were saying is, they each have their own thematic purpose and match what the city. Because
Right.
when Superman comes in, he's supposed to be this weird thing, this weird alien presence, but like kind of the idealized humanity, which is a brighter future, right? His
Idealized
costume is
American.
idealized American.
An
right?
American god.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
So bright
That's it.
colors. He's bright amongst a lot of dirt.
yeah.
And it's a cool contrast,
Yeah.
which, I feel like you might lose that in the new Superman where it's like, we're all dirty.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I like how bright it is. And then
Yeah.
I like how, conversely, the Batman costume in this one is dirty. It's dirty. It's not the finest rubber, cowl,
Yeah.
a rough-looking cape. He's got, dirt on
Right.
him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they do
Like,
that very well in their costumes.
Polished as Bruce Wayne could do with himself,
Yeah.
and that's what it is. And yeah, I think, like you're saying, like they fit their time, their town, their city,
But they also fit their
'cause-
ideal because Batman is supposed to be, he's supposed to take on the the crime.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be that criminal element to fight the criminal element, and Superman is supposed to be just this thing that's so different, so foreign that we're looking to, right? So it's
Yeah.
like,
I mean, they're definitely from their own place because it's like the Batmobile is very gothic, extremely gothic mobile.
Yeah.
Right. And then you even have his bat plane, which is extremely gothic as well. And then
Batwing.
Batwing.
Oh,
I
sorry,
had that
Bat-
toy. That was awesome.
Yeah, it was.
I was like, "Phew."
and then how they even introduced that as like a faux funny like bat symbol when he flies up and then into
Oh,
the
yeah, I
moon
loved
and
Batman's
then
just
comes
he's
down.
just having fun right now.
Yeah.
You
no
would.
reason to
You
do
know
that.
you would.
Wait till they get a load of me.
Yeah. Batman is himself in this movie, form over function. For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely a flamboyancy to him. But as Batman is, fashionable and flamboyant then you have Joker in it, which is just entirely flamboyant in a different way.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm going to mention it really, really quick here because you kind of touched it on it, is I think that they did the best job. They kind of did a good job with the Nolan one too. Well, they did a good job with the Nolan one too. But this one really introduced, in a way for broad audiences, that Batman and Joker are two sides of the same coin.
Right.
Where they're both completely flamboyant and crazy, but in completely different ideas.
Yep.
And I think, because even Joker has that line, I don't mean to steal someone's line here, we can bring it up later, but where does he get those wonderful toys?
Right.
And it's like, what the fuck have you been using this whole time?
Yeah. Where that huge fucking gun you pull out of your pants.
You shoot down a plane with.
The Batwing.
If you just watch your guy, during the day, you'll see Batman goes into his shop when you're out.
All right, let's move. I want to talk a little bit about the lady reporters and the side characters.
You mean both Jimmy Olsen's were great, I thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's funny that to credit Tim Burton's movie, he made me think Vicky Vale was supposed to be a bigger character when she was just kind of one of Bruce Wayne's many flings.
Yes.
Well, and the choices for her kind of give the Batman movie a noir feel. They give her kind of a dame.
I don't
sort
think the
of-
choices for her make this a noir film. I think.
I mean Burton for her, necessarily. Just the casting her, the style of her dress, the kind of the bombshell reporter. I don't know.
Yeah, I could see that.
There's some elements in that kind of give it a little bit of another genre flavoring that I found interesting at least.
Yeah. Margot Kidder on the other side of this. I fucking love Margot Kidder.
Oh, yeah.
As Lois Lane, I should specify, because I don't really know what else she's ever done, which is probably
She was in the original Black Christmas, which is
cool for her,
yeah,
I guess.
Just very, just kind of very, very just standard, like, you know, horror chick who gets killed sort of thing.
Yeah, that's what I got out of her for this, actually. I prefer Amy Adams.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. I don't dislike Amy Adams as Lois Lane. I think she was an excellent choice. I think she did a very good job with her movie. But when
Well, maybe if they actually gave her reporting.
Right.
I feel like the
I'm
moxie
talking about
that
the usage.
I feel like the moxie that
Yeah.
Margot Kidder has in this. I buy that she's just a tough as nails reporter.
Yeah. Her whole that whole speech about how she never wants to retire or go to the suburbs because she'd die, like it's like that feels
Yeah.
like Lois Lane. to
I
me.
like that. Well, I've never read Lois Lane either, so I don't know
okay.
what the source material is.
Well, she's another one of those characters where she's been everything from just a damsel in distress saying, "Help me, Superman," to like
Right.
the badass woman. So,
Right.
and that's what I like about Margot Kidder's with her is that she feels like a very great like in the middle of that of like she can stick to her guns. She's a badass. She knows what she wants, but she's not like a superhero by any means. Like she still needs somebody to come to swoop in and save the day.
I will give you
Yeah.
that. Like, she feels more like someone that Superman could do what he does in the comics, like marry and try to have a life with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whereas Amy Adams feels like Jane Foster. It's like, oh, I'm going to leave you on Earth and go be God more.
That seems so mean to Amy Adams.
I'm sorry, Amy Adams. The way they've written your character. I mean.
Yeah.
Oh, I like Natalie Portman too. You know, there is one more thing that somehow we've not fucking brought up on this podcast, and you just reminded me because they did a similar scene. Lois and Clark with Dean Cain.
Oh yeah, that's never gotten mentioned once.
Wow.
It was
I'm
pretty
so
good.
sorry, Dean
that was
Cain.
like my childhood. That was like the Superman stuff that
Absolutely,
I watched.
that was
Yeah.
fantastic.
It was.
I was
Cain.
obsessed with that show.
Yeah, and I remember.
believe it or not.
I don't remember who the name of the actress is from that, but I remember there was like
Thatcher,
a scene
right?
where
Yeah, Terry-
Yeah,
Thatcher?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Mhm. Yeah.
Is that
I think he was trying to like
Hatcher?
He
Hatcher,
was,
not
he
Thatcher.
was trying to see through her, and she had like a lead plate or something she was using. I don't remember exactly what it was, but
Does that mean we have to bring up Smallville now? Because I didn't watch Smallville.
I thought of it and I didn't watch it either, so I couldn't say much
Yeah,
about
neither
it.
did I.
But
I feel like
I've heard
maybe
good
in a
things.
different versus we can do Smallville versus Gotham. When
We
a few more
could.
seasons of Gotham have got like the hero without the hero.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That could
That'd be-
work.
Yeah.
Where should we move on to next? I still have more stuff on my list here if we want to go back to that.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't mention any of the side characters other than the lady reporters.
Right.
But
I mean, who else? Well, you got
you got to talk.
Well, the editor Perry White, right?
Well, you got to talk about
Superman?
Perry White. I guess. Well, no,
He's
'cause I like Perry
cantankerous.
White. He
He's
was good.
cantankerous. I love it.
all right.
I still like. Not, how am I blanking on his name? Lawrence Fishburne better. As
Oh,
Perry
yeah.
White.
Yeah.
But when you get like grumpy guy, like really grumpy, put out sort of guy, like
Yeah, but he just seemed like grumpy guy that everyone could ignore. Whereas
Yeah.
Lawrence Fishburne, when he's mad at you, I feel like you're in trouble.
oh yeah,
Yeah, that's a whole different world.
you're just about to act at me in a very disappointed way, and I'm going to
Yeah.
feel bad about myself afterward.
Yeah.
The one guy the unsung hero of the entire original Batman series, fucking Alfred.
Yeah.
He was
He's
so good.
so
my God.
great.
That's my Alfred,
Perfect.
man.
That,
Yeah.
that's my Alfred. Yeah. For sure.
I loved Michael Caine. I thought he did a great job
Sure.
with
Well,
talk
that
about-
God, yeah.
character. But
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
character didn't feel like Alfred to
Right.
me.
Talk
This
about,
guy was Alfred.
Like
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about having a side character who's not a superhero in any way, shape, or form, just a side person who is compared just as much as you would compare the Supermans. So like that's
Right.
not my Alfred. That's my Alfred. He's compared in the same. We talk about
Yeah.
him in the same exact way that we talk about Superman and Batman. He's almost a hero in his own way for how he's able
he
to.
is. I mean, he saved Batman. Really.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, he
He always does.
And he
Yeah.
also gets interesting like iterations. Like actually has more interesting iterations than Superman has in the film.
I agree.
realm.
And
Yeah.
Batman's.
Oh yeah.
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 I love the new one on the show Gotham too. I mean, not again like Michael Caine. He doesn't feel like the Alfred I read from the comics, but he's awesome.
And,
yeah,
and no
it-
matter what you think about the
It feels
movie
more
coming out,
realistic with Michael Caine.
the idea of Jeremy Irons doing Alfred, like that's interesting.
Yeah.
Whenever they cast an Alfred, it's like you can kind of get what vibe they're going for with the Batman.
Yeah.
Based off of the Alfred they pick, right?
Interesting.
But would it kill him just one time for somebody to call him Penny One? Like I just want to hear somebody over an intercom call him Penny One.
That's the director's cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was there any other side characters? I mean, we could talk. I guess Jimmy Olsen. He was Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah. Let's talk about fucking Lando Calrissian.
Oh my!
He was so
Yeah.
good.
Out of everything in the Batman, like the original Batman series, the fact that fucking Billy D. Williams did not get to play Two-Face is so upsetting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Because like when he first came on screen, or I saw his big poster, and I was like, wait, what? Do I not remember this movie correctly? It was like, is he not? They're setting up this Two-Face that. Oh, damn. that would have been
Yeah.
amazing.
We have to swap out for Tommy Lee Jones. Granted, I like Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah,
he did
that
good.
was
He did
pretty
good.
amazing. Yeah.
But still, it's Billy D. Williams. I mean, you gotta
That would
love
have been-
Billy D. Williams.
Yeah.
That would have been so
amazing.
interesting. I do remember thinking that this time around, like, wow,
What
the
if?
possibilities.
Yeah.
What if? Yeah.
What if
Oh.
Billy D. Williams played Two-Face? There's your ultimate what if.
Yeah.
The entire force of law and police in the Batman movie was really good.
Yeah, I liked their commissioning of Gordon.
Yeah, me too. Batman did a really good job of making us feel like we're watching a comic book. Superman felt more like we're watching an action adventure.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, because that
Well, until he turned back time.
Turn back time.
I
That's
think
the only
you found
thing
your
that
intro
he was
music.
thinking as he was flying around the earth at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
But you know what? To speak to that scene, only Christopher Reeve could have sold that.
Sure.
That scene
And
because
absolutely.
he is
As-
angry as F.
as ludicrous as that scene is, he fucking sells it.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
Yeah.
I was scared. Like when these characters, like when Superman gets angry, that's like sort of like the Doctor getting angry. It's
Yeah.
like you don't want to see that because that is scary. And I like seeing that because I was actually like, oh my god, that's scary.
Well, that's I mean, really quick to touch on it. That's my favorite thing about Christopher Reeve's Superman is that when he gets angry, it's like, oh shit, I didn't mean to piss him off. I shouldn't have pissed him off. Oh fuck.
Yeah.
Whereas like Henry Cavill's was like, well, he's always almost angry.
He's just always a dick.
Yeah,
Well, he's always
just
got something
like,
kinda
he's like on
lodged-
the- he's on the
Cavill's a
edge of being-
hero who
Yeah,
you don't
he's
want
got
to
a
piss
chip
off.
on his shoulder.
Cavill's a dick. Or I'm sorry, Reeves is a hero. You don't.
Yeah.
Reeves is yeah.
The new Superman seems to always be perturbed about everything
Yeah.
at the same level of perturbed. Like
He should be
I gotta
Bruce
fight
Banner.
crime.
Yeah.
My secret doctor. I'm always angry.
But there was such
Which is
such a
basically because he's just like pissed off. You're like, humans. Oh god, okay.
Yeah.
As,
Which great.
yeah,
that,
Christopher Reeves
that
is like,
could change in this new one. We don't know. We haven't seen it yet.
True, true.
Based off Man of Steel, it's like, all right.
I feel like I've seen at least
Calm down a
80% of it though in the trailers.
it's a 2.5
Oh,
hour
snap.
movie. You've seen 2 minutes.
Well, in terms
I don't know
of
much about math, but
I would say you have not seen most of it.
You've seen
I'm
everything
not-
but the transitions, though.
hey, I
Fair.
do words, not numbers.
All right, so we have 2 more things to talk about here. I'm going to start with just the one thing we haven't really talked about, which I feel needs to be mentioned, because this is comic books. We didn't talk about any of the action sequences. We didn't talk about the actual superheroes fighting, which I feel like you need
We
to
did talk about that Michael Keaton couldn't move very well, which
That's
I
true.
feel like sums up his action sequence.
which was covered up very well with a flash of a camera. So I
but-
think very effectively.
In the one scene where he had to, when he had to fight like the crazy karate guys while the Joker's dancing with Kim Basinger, I think they sold it.
Yes.
This movie made me think you just fight by stiffening your limbs in different directions.
Which that's what it was. I
Yeah.
mean, that's how Batman had to fight in that suit because he can't move.
It's Taekwon Bat.
I don't know. Honestly, I didn't read a whole lot of Batman comics from before 1989, but yeah, I mean, it really didn't drive home the whole like Batman's almost ninja-like very well.
You could see it in some of his stances and in the actual thing. And from other Batmans, you understand that he's been trained and all of this other stuff. And so he knows how to actually fight, as opposed to Superman, who has never been trained. Well, whatever. In this universe, he's never been trained. He just
We
fights.
don't know how those conversations went with Marlon Brando.
Right.
They could have had like, all right, son, now it's time to talk jujitsu.
Well,
It's all about
isn't it cool?
transferring weight.
Isn't it cool that in these movies we could see the combat? I mean, like in later iterations of Batman, Nolan, all of them. Like he got better with it, but it's like let's shake the camera around like we're having a seizure, and that's action. That's
Yeah.
that's tense. That's
Yeah.
intense. It's like no, I
Yeah.
just can't see what's going on.
Still camera, just punch someone real hard in the
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, to where we can point out like, oh, it's just moving your arm up like this, and we mimic it as kids, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, we had something to mimic. We could see. And those moments look cool because they're slow. They slowed them down a little bit.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
But what's really nice is that they kind of are confident in their kind of setting and letting
that's
letting
what
the scene just
showed-
play out.
That's very
That's
Tim
what showed
Burton.
showed for Batman too, is that he's so confident and he's like, yep, block. Whereas all the other people that are against him, everybody that's fighting him is so trying to be flamboyant and try to move this and that and do blah blah blah. And it's like,
Yeah.
oh, he's just
And Batman's
no,
like, I'm going to shut this shit down.
yeah, no.
But that almost feels more Superman to me. Like I like the dichotomy between these characters because Superman is godlike in his strength, and he has to pull most of his punches to not punch people's heads off.
Yeah.
So he just kind of stands there and he can punch his way out of anything. Where Batman has to use his brain and be clever and like sneak up in the shadows, and he's just a man. So I don't know if the Tim Burton's movie sold that to me.
I think really it's just that last sequence that it did, because he was clearly outmatched with like those like, karate dudes, and like they're throwing him around. They throw him through a staircase. Like it's clear like he had to kind of like figure out how to beat them.
Right.
And they don't spend a lot of time on it, but I still think it's there. The rest of the movie I agree with. They didn't really sell it, but that one sequence I think they did.
Yeah.
And in the Superman movie, there's not really a lot of action.
No.
Right.
You forget that after if you haven't seen it in a long time, but then you're like, "Where's the action?" Oh, that's in the second movie.
Right.
Yeah. Oh wait, no, he's just
when
flying.
he fights Zod is really when there's the action. Because this one, it's just he kind of cruises around. He saves a cat from a tree. Very Superman.
Yeah.
And then at the end, he turns back time. But all of that, I mean, the action sequence is really after he stops the first bomb, and then it's just making sure that as few people die as possible after the second bomb goes off.
Right.
Yep.
And that's really your action. He shows up. He pulls like, Jimmy Olsen, you're falling off the Hoover Dam. We're going to stop that. And he just kind of goes around. And for some reason, he can shift tectonic plates, which we could just kind of move past that ridiculousness.
Yeah.
We've already moved
But
past
that
the time travel.
But as far as like introductions to the character that being an action sequence, the helicopter that Lois Lane has fallen from,
Yes.
is amazing.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
I watch that and I'm just like, it takes my breath. Like I was like, this is Superman. Like this is that moment where you're like,
that's
I'm
true.
excited about Superman because what a way to just introduce yourself to the world.
It is
So,
an amazing introduction.
I guess this movie, Superman, actually did a much better job then, because, like I said, Superman can punch through walls and people's faces. So to give him conflicts like, oh, you've just been tricked into opening a box of kryptonite, that's good. There's two people across the world, or two different events across the world that both need saving at the same time. That's a good conflict for Superman to have, because he's only one man. So they did a great job of that.
Yeah, they did a good job making, like, that's, again, I mean, when it comes down to it, I mean, this isn't like a voting episode where we're going to tell you which one's better or not, but I've always enjoyed this Superman more than this Batman. But with that, I want to move into what I think should be our final topic of the day, which is the series after this film. So both of these movies got 3 more sequels.
Yep.
And both of these series, the sequels just went way downhill.
Yeah.
After going slightly uphill in the second one. Like, they mirror each
Yeah.
other so well, it's kind of crazy. So for those of you who have not seen anything else, or for those of you who actually don't know, Superman and Superman 2 were written at the same time and submitted as one script, which is why when you watch the movie, the opening is Zod getting thrown into the Phantom Zone, or whatever the fuck they call it in this movie. I think actually they do call it the
It
Phantom
is,
Zone
yeah.
in this one.
Yep.
And that's why they come back in the next one, because it was written and kind of shot not necessarily at the same time, but right around the same time. So it was supposed to be the same story.
Which I think would have been awesome.
It would have been, and I don't know the backstory. I haven't really read into that much, but for some reason, Richard Donner did not fully finish the second film. I think there was
I
creative
guess
differences.
it sounded like there was a lot of like politics in that whole kind of production that just happened.
Yeah, I mean, you could, if you look into the background of the making of the first Superman movie, you could make the best movie ever just of making this thing. Like fucking Marlon Brando. Oh yeah, I'm gonna be in your movie. Okay, cool. Here are your lines. I'm not memorizing those. What do you mean you're not memorizing them? I'm not. Cue cards, please.
Yeah, that's just how I work.
Yeah, that's how I'm doing it. All right, well, we're going to shoot this in Italy. Oh, can't go to Italy. There's a warrant out for my arrest in Italy.
You know that actually it was Marlon Brando's idea too. He was like, I know he's Superman, but I feel left out that I don't have one of those Superman logos. Put one on my shirt too. That was literally his idea. He's like, let's put a Superman logo on everyone on Krypton.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, I
Thanks,
love
Brando.
Marlon Brando. He's great, but thank God I'd never have to work with him, because that sounds horrifying. But yeah, so the Superman and Superman 2, great movies. And then Superman 3, it's like, oh, we keep making these? Why not Richard Pryor? That'd be great, right?
Yeah.
Wait, what? I actually didn't see these. I haven't seen any of the Superman sequels.
So
I
three
saw the
in Superman
poster for
3, Richard Pryor's kind of the bumbling, kind of switching sides back and forth, good guy, bad guy sort of thing.
Oh, no.
And Superman has to fight a computer.
Yeah,
Well,
It's all about
By playing
hackers
chess?
and computers, and Lex Luthor's not even in this, and
Right.
it's some
It's
brilliant.
it's rough.
It's
It's as rough as ice puns?
It might. Here's the thing: is it might not be Superman 4: The Quest for Peace. Way worse than Ice Puns.
Wow.
It is one of the worst films in the history of cinema, and the fact they actually got Christopher Reeves to be in it still kind of blows my mind. Like, and if you look into the background of it, if you watch, there's a documentary on Netflix right now called Electric Boogaloo, where they talk about the company that bought Superman to make this one film. It's mind-blowing how they're just like, well, we can make it for an eighth of what we spent on the first one, right? Well, then we can only shoot him flying one time. All right. And then they do. And then they use the same shot of him flying directly at the screen every time he flies. It is one of the worst films ever made.
And
Isn't
then
that the one where he pulls his symbol off?
That's 2.
That's 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then he fights that one guy,
I don't remember his name, but it was...
Plutonium Man. No. Like he basically. Lex Luthor makes him out of like a strand of Superman's hair, and then like
Bizarro.
no,
Wow.
yeah. But he's totally he's got the dumbest outfit, and then like he beats Superman.
Nuclear Man.
Nuclear Man. He beats Superman by scratching him in the neck with his super long nail, and then Superman goes on a stint of being like bad Superman.
It's a
Double
rough
bizarre.
movie.
So Superman blows out the Olympic torch in a scene.
Oh,
he's
God.
drinking and he's womanizing. It's so funny.
I feel like we need to bring up Tobey Maguire's emo dance scene now.
This is what that inspired that, I think.
Yeah, probably.
I don't think you're wrong. Now, on the same scale, the Tim Burton franchise, I think, went straight to the same place.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
now this is where I'm saying the Batman Returns is like, that is my favorite Batman film of all
Me too.
time. And I love The Dark Knight. I love everything that's come out. But for me, Batman Returns is like the greatest Batman movie fucking ever. And I love the shit out
I
of it.
feel like
DeVito's my penguin.
Yeah, fact.
But you
Well,
like
talk about-
Gotham. What about that guy?
talk about
He's
letting,
good too, but DeVito's my penguin.
talk about letting Burton kind of like, because it feels like you're hedging some bets with the first Batman, right? They're holding
Well,
back
yeah,
a little
because
bit.
Superman destroyed, like it just went horribly, and then like, all right, we're gonna do another Superman, or we're gonna do another superhero movie. Did you see Quest for Peace? No, we're fucking not.
Yeah. Whereas like they went balls to the wall with Returns. It's like
Whoa,
crazy
so
pants.
good.
It's crazy pants, and they gave us the best Catwoman ever.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
shit! So
Well, I mean,
good.
Eartha Kitt's a pretty like she's above her a little bit, but that's just a classic thing, right?
No, Michelle Pfeiffer's definitely better.
I watched way too much of the old Batman.
I love it, but oh my god, like Michelle Pfeiffer's.
Michelle Pfeiffer like defined a new version of the Catwoman the
Yeah.
same way that Heath Ledger did the Joker. I think.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Just like that batshit crazy person.
And all she had to do was like nearly pass out during every day of shoot just
Yeah.
for that costume.
Not bad.
You know what? It's worth it.
It's worth it.
My 11-year-old self would say the same.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
11-year-olds appreciated the shit out of this.
Yeah.
But then
Meow.
we go to the. But after that, you go to the third one, which I can still enjoy.
They
Like
were
way
fun.
more than the Richard Pryor
Can you-
Superman one.
Well,
I don't remember which one was third and fourth. Can you
So
remind
Batman
me?
Forever is third. Batman and Robin is fourth.
Who were the villains of Forever?
The Riddler and Two-Face.
This is Jim Carrey
Okay, gotcha.
and
And that's
yeah.
why that one's still good. I mean,
Yeah.
because Val Kilmer's Batman,
Yeah.
it's not great. Chris O'Donnell's Robin is just as annoying as Robin used to be, so that kind of works.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
But
You got it right.
Yeah.
but fucking Jim
Unfortunately.
Carrey as the Riddler, fucking awesome.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
Awesome.
He basically channeled the old Riddler from the TV show.
Yeah.
And he did it like in the Schumacher style. So it actually
Well,
played
that's what
well.
That's what Schumacher wanted to make, was
Yeah.
the old school Batman,
Yeah.
but just modernized, and he did.
And this
it's-
one you can still watch on cable and be like, "Ha, this is funny.
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
crazy.
This is good. Yeah.
Yeah.
TV will rot your brain.
Yeah.
Which one introduced Alicia Silverstone?
Batman and Robin.
Batman Robin.
All right.
Batman and Robin's
So
where-
Batman Forever is not bad.
No, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. Batman and Robin. No, I can't even watch it anymore. Like I want to, and it's
Yeah.
just,
It's really rough.
George Clooney.
Chill.
Why is the ER Doctor Batman?
and I like Clooney's Bruce Wayne. It's not great, but I don't have a problem with it.
All right.
But that's really all I can say for the whole movie. Is I like
You know,
Clooney's Bruce Wayne.
I like the villains.
we talked-
even.
have we talked-
Still.
To kind of backtrack, have we talked about how each of these movies handle their alter egos? Like the Clark
No, we didn't
Kents
really talk about that.
or the Bruce Waynes, because they're very interesting in their approach and often copied.
See, I didn't think they were interesting. I thought they were about as like safe and like palatable as possible. It's like Clark Kent is Clark Kent.
Clark
Bruce
Kent
Wayne
is Clark Kent.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne is.
Because see, I forgot in
We
Superman
really
how
didn't get
awkward.
much of Bruce Wayne.
I
at
forgot
all
how
in this
awkward
movie.
Clark was as an adult, and just
Yeah.
like how like
He did a
is
good
this what you
job.
think?
Yeah.
Like I don't know. After hearing that Kill Bill speech play out, like I've gone back to think about these alter egos, and it's like, is that what he thinks humans are like? Just these bumbling like.
Yeah.
And it's kind of
Yes.
it's kind of neat how he plays that.
Did he never said anything like that? I think it's just to go a completely polar opposite of
Yeah.
what Superman's like. He just like
Yeah.
is playing the most opposite of Superman he can think
I mean,
of.
yeah, because Superman's disguise is not just a pair of glasses.
Right.
It's his performance.
Yeah.
Whereas, like,
I think I fainted.
yeah,
You fainted?
But just you're mentioning how like George Clooney made a a great Bruce Wayne. We have that
No, I never
conversation.
said great. Whoa.
Oh, no. Cool. I meant to say cool. A cool Bruce Wayne. Like that. I think maybe more so the Batman series. Each Bruce Wayne has been different in how they've handled them, and yeah, like
I think that we could just basically sum it up now and say that Superman has been just a far more consistent character and Clark Kent than Bruce Wayne and Batman.
But I think that's true.
'Cause
in
they
comics,
found
too.
that's what I mean.
Superman.
Like
Yeah,
across
like-
all media forever,
Yeah.
that's been true.
until Zack Snyder, and whether or not that's a good thing, we'll find out in a couple of days.
Until Superman turned into
The
electricity.
same day this episode comes out, we will find out.
yeah.
Okay, so unless there's anything else anybody wants to say, I want to move into quotes. Is there anything else we need to touch on with these things? I think we've done a pretty good job covering both of them.
Christopher Reeves is Superman.
That's true.
We don't got a lot of choice there.
Do we need a quote from each movie?
Yeah, one from each.
Oh, okay.
We'll go Batman first.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with it's a Joker line.
Aren't they all though?
Yeah, that's kind of what I didn't want to. I was originally just going with I'm Batman.
Which is only said once.
Yeah.
like, in the whole movie.
No, he whispers it to himself a bunch of times. Though.
Whenever he's like when he's running up those stairs at the end of it to go fight Joker, he's just, I'm Batman.
Not in that scene. Wait, that's not the scene I was talking about.
No, I'm gonna go with. Now I'm trying to remember exactly how I phrased it. Don't rub another man's rhubarb.
That's there you go.
Okay, I'll go next. We know the line. It's when Joker says, "Tell me something, my friend. You ever dance with the devil in the pale moonlight?"
Yeah,
And
That's the line.
it's just and like my thought was like, oh, you know what? I like the sound of that. That has a cool sound. And then the Joker actually says afterwards, I always ask that on my parade. I just like the sound of it. I'm like, this movie speaks to me.
that is
you.
the most Joker thing he does in almost the whole movie.
Yeah.
Just like this makes absolutely no sense, but I like it.
But it sounds cool. Yeah.
Oh. Isn't that the same scene too? That's in the apartment too, isn't
It's
it?
right before he says, "Don't rub another man's rhubarb."
Right. Because then Michael Keaton's like smashing things like, you don't want to see me crazy. Yeah. And I'm like, also, this scene is so great.
My favorite line is, again, the Joker, of course. My balloons! Those are my balloons! He's stealing my balloons! Why didn't anyone tell me he had one of those things? Bob, gun.
Blam. Mine is also from the Joker.
No, really?
I think so. I'll pick that one. So this is in the restaurant gallery place. Vicky Vale asks, "What do you want?" "My face on the $1 bill." "You must be joking." "Do I look like I'm joking?" I just thought it was hilarious.
I really do like that. All right, so for Superman quotes,
Mine is from Lex Luthor. It is, we all have our little faults. Mine's in California.
that's fantastic. I'm also going to go with the Lex Luthor quote. It's because I giggle every time he says it. Miss Tessmacher!
He says that a lot.
He really does. And every time I'm like, yeah.
Oh, Gene Hackman, you're going somewhere.
I'll go with a Superman quote. This is right as his introduction as Superman. "Easy, miss. I've got you." And then Lois Lane says, "You've got me, but who's got you?"
Oh, yeah, that's my other favorite line.
I do have a friend who saw this when it came out in theaters, who said that moment got wild applause in the theater.
Yeah, because that's the line.
Mine's just kind of a line I found funny on rewatch. I definitely didn't catch as a kid. I think it's the first interview. Lois Lane's like, "How big are you? How tall are you?"
Yeah, I definitely didn't catch that.
Way more innuendo in Superman, somehow.
Yeah. No, and I forgot that.
God, there's a webcomic that shows the first time Lois Lane and Superman like get busy.
Yeah.
And he takes off his pants and she goes, "Oh God, why does it have pinchers?" And he goes, "To hold on to you." What?
I have seen that webcomic.
He is an alien.
Thank God he doesn't look just like humans, because that always throws me off about Superman.
Okay, so I want to do a review system for today, but I don't really know how to do it. So I'm thinking that we'll just completely forego it, and our review system will be, what do we want from the movie?
Okay.
So what do we want from, when I say the movie, I mean Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. We've been hinting at that film the whole day.
Wait, what's that? Is that coming out?
If you don't know what the movie is, there you have it.
There are at
So
least
is that
there are at
Michael
least-
Keaton versus Christopher Reeves, or
Yeah, a lot of CGI involved.
interesting?
It felt mean.
Birdman versus.
Okay, so when I think of the things that I want from this movie, I'm not even going to try to compare it to the movies that we have so far, but no, I will. So what we didn't get in those other movies that I do want in this one, mine's going to be pretty on the nose, is there's something that's so great about the Justice League comic books and Batman comic books and Superman comic books that we've never fully seen beyond animated series and whatnot. I want to see Superman and Batman's friendship, because there is something about that friendship that will always bring me back to DC. Like there's something where they have completely different ideals on things. They never really see eye to eye, but they have like a bond like brothers that is just so phenomenal and always brings me back to those books that makes me go, I love these two characters together. Like if you've never read it, there's a point where Batman's son dies, and all that Superman does to help him is show up and helps him do work one night. And that's it. And he's like, all right, call me if you need me. And he goes, thanks. And like that's, and like, they just understand each other, even though they never agree with each other. And that's what I want out of these movies. I want to see that friendship.
That's good.
I would second that. I would hope to kind of bounce off that they spend a lot of time on that. Like where the
an
movie's
earned
already
friendship,
the
yeah.
movie is very crowded as it is, and I wouldn't mind them cutting some of that out.
I don't think they're going to edit it anymore.
Well, I mean, they just did the press screening, so they got a couple days. They got a couple days so they can fix it. But I just mean, I hope that, and haven't read any reviews yet, that they do spend a lot more time than you would think. I really want to kind of be surprised by the movie in a way, like the advertising is shifting it to be one way, that it's going to be just this punch out fest, and then they're going to find a common enemy and punch that out, and that's going to be it. But like, make like 3-dimensional characters out of these guys. Like, you didn't really do that hot of a job in Man of Steel. Superman's there is just like, okay, where's your motivations? Fine, whatever. This is cool fight scenes and all that. Like,
I would disagree. I think that the whole movie is just making Superman a 3-dimensional character, and that's where they went wrong. They didn't make a story. They just made, here's Superman.
Well, and
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of picked a very uncompelling way to present it, I feel like.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I want more about the characters, and then that's pretty much it. Basically, kind of expanding on what you said.
Okay.
I'm really curious to see where they go with this. There is one sentiment out of The Dark Knight Returns, which I know they're using a little bit as the source material for this. If anyone hasn't read The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller, I'm sorry, this is a little bit of a spoiler for it, but Superman does show up to actually kind of stop Batman, which is kind of the inverse of what's going on in the Batman v Superman. But Superman has a line that he says to Bruce Wayne, or Batman says, we are gods walking among men. It's best we don't remind them of that. And I love that sentiment of that whole series, and I really hope they kind of like capture that somehow for this movie. And realistically, I just really hope that that this movie and this franchise, for all of what Warner Brothers is doing with DC right now, gives us something that can define this generation of Batman and Superman. Like the way that these old movies gave us new information about these characters that we incorporated into the larger canon. I just hope they can pull that off this time as well.
So that's a big ask.
Yeah.
I think they will. I think we're gonna define Ben Affleck as our Batman more than we think we will right now, and this is gonna be the first time we get a really good any of the other characters.
If they pull it off even okay, I think you're right. If they do, that just needs to be a hair better than Man of Steel, and I think it'll be out of this world. But
Yeah, if that happens, I will be truly amazed. I honestly don't think I don't know. I really don't have much faith, but again, we'll see it. But yeah, I mean, I really just don't want a 2-hour long brawl of just like, oh yeah, just kill, and then just that, like, all right, well that was Batman, and that was Superman.
That is the worry, right? That it's going to be like mostly just the brawl, and then the last 10 minutes are going to be like, here's all the cool stuff.
No, I hope the movie is about. It'll be an interesting twist on the two characters. If this movie is about Batman teaching Superman that it's not okay to ever kill.
I kind of hope that's where it's going.
Me too.
I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I've been feeling like it's going to be. Is that's where it's going to end up.
Yeah,
Well, that's
kind of
the
like on the
common-
statement that you were saying. Of like, it's we're gods among men. Like, let's not remind them of that. Like,
Right.
let's not remind them. They're like, oh, we can just kill all of you whenever we want to.
Yeah,
Well,
there's
and-
nothing
and-
you can do to stop me.
Yeah, because
Well,
I'm
that-
a god.
And that was one nice thing about the trailers and stuff. As the promotion started rolling out, I was like, oh, so they are like, because people's common complaint would be like, how could Superman get away with all this destruction and just being just bad? You know, so not taking human life into consideration. Well, they're going to address it. And I'm like, all right.
Well, the one thing that I will say is I've seen all the trailers up until the most, like I haven't watched TV spots because those are spoilery as shit. But I will say that out of everything, it looks like they've only really shown one action sequence, which if that's speaking to the larger film, it might be that there's not a crap load of action in it, which if they go that route, I'll be much happier.
Yeah.
That would actually be that'd be surprising, like in a good way. Like,
I mean, I have a feeling it'll probably be 2 or 3. I mean, because I imagine at one point there'll be fisticuffs. One of them will lose, and then they'll have to regroup. And I'm guessing Batman will lose, and he'll have
Well-
to regroup and put on his Batman super suit.
Right.
And
That's
his
what
leg-
we see
His
already.
Lego suit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of what I'm guessing.
But that's kind of straight out of Dark Knight Returns, which I'm
Yeah.
excited about.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm very excited for this film, and it's mostly just because I'm a DC fanboy, and it has not been going well for us for a long time.
Yeah.
In the
That's
film world,
true.
comics
That
have
is
been
true.
phenomenal. I really enjoyed the New 52 and what they did there. I'm excited for what's coming out this year. I think it's gonna be great. But is there anything else we want to say on these 2 movies before we move on, or the third movie that the BVSDOJ? Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice.
No, I think we've nailed it.
Okay. All right. So with that, we'll bring the episode to a close. Next week we will not have anything. I apologize, but we have to go to WonderCon, which is
Have to.
well, we have to. It's in LA. It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
that far away, and it's not that expensive to get into. I have to go to it.
Yeah.
Which means that we're not gonna have time to record an episode. So I apologize. The week after that, we're going back a few months, and by I mean a few, I mean a lot. We're doing Whiplash, which is a phenomenal movie, which we've never done on this show, and I don't know why.
I'm excited
I've
for
always
that
wanted
one.
to talk. It's such a good
just
fucking movie.
actually saw that one recently. Just was like, I'm gonna get ahead of the game in terms of homework.
Yeah, like that's a good one.
It'll be interesting if by then Miles Teller is confirmed to be Han Solo after admitting recently on social media he has never seen a Star Wars movie.
I don't think he was allowed to say that till he was out of the running. I don't think he's
Okay.
even in the running anymore.
Okay, good.
Which is phenomenal news.
Yes.
And then the week after that, we have a battle coming up. We haven't done a battle in a while. And it will be, this is based on Ryan's suggestion. We're doing a Netflix roulette battle.
That's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. We don't know
Wow.
who the guests are yet, but basically, so people can kind of understand what that will be, so we'll have to do it on the episode. We're going to basically roll the roulette, which is the Netflix roulette app or the website for it, and that's going to decide the movie that you're defending. So it can be anything from Three Ninjas to Troll 2, and I really hope that we get nothing but horrible movies, and then one person gets like the piano. What's best?
I get the Justice League cartoon series.
So that'll be a lot of fun. So if you're listening to this before you go to see Batman vs Superman to prepare for it, I hope you have a good time at the movie, because this will come out the same day as the movie. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you to Graham,
Of course.
Ryan,
Yep.
John,
Sure.
and myself.
Bye. Bye.
In the basement, middle of the night, blacked out windows, other places that are dark, black suit, black coffee. You get it, that's just the first verse. Dark